I'm Christina for Card Player TV, here to give you guys the lowdown on the World Series of Poker final tables going on today at the Rio. Beginning at 2 p.m. today is the final table of the $1,500 buy-in No Limit Hold'em 6-handed event. 1,236 players showed up for this event, and going into final table play, John Conkright is the chip leader, but he must go through a couple of porters if he wants to win the bracelet and the $372,000 first place prize, because also at the table is Ralph Porter, an accomplished player who cashed in 40th place in the main event last year, and Devin Porter, who is an online pro known as Tranquil Chaos. The other final table going on today is the $2,500 buy-in Omaha 7-card stud 8 or better event. Only 9 remain out of the 388 players that started. First place will take home $233,000 and a coveted bracelet. Michael Mizrachi is at this table, as well as John Reisner, who's fairly new to the series, playing in only his second year at the series and looking for his first bracelet, and WSOP veteran Miami John Cernuto, who has 3 bracelets already under his belt. I spoke with both Johns before the start of the final table. So tell me about your road to the final table. How did it go for you?
It was pretty up and down. Like, I came into day 2 really short stacked with only 6,000 when the average was probably around 20. And but I got off to a really good start. It's a mixed limit event. It's fixed limit, so the swings are like up and down. I happened to get off to a good start and get up to like 20, 30,000 right away. So that got me going right off the bat.
Looking at your results, you have No Limit and a couple Omaha cashes. Would you say Omaha is your stronger game?
Definitely No Limit Hold'em is. I'm just now getting into Omaha a lot, and as far as 7-card stud, this is like the only time I played all year. Of course, I know what's going on, though. I know the game good enough, so.
Right, I'm at Omaha more than 7-card.
Yeah.
So when you favor a game, Omaha, over 7-card, do you try and play more aggressively in those rounds? That's
funny that you asked that, because a couple other people were asking me that also. For the most part, just the best situations that come up, I go by. You know, even if it's 7-card stud, Omaha doesn't matter. But I'm more like excited, so to speak, when the Omaha hands are going on. Like, I'm more into it, so because I know the game better. Well, there are about 300 players who started. Was the field pretty strong, or were there a few people who just kind of played the event? Because I know, some players are just trying to get in every event they can. Yeah, well, I'm kind of like one of those players. I'm trying to win a bracelet, so I'm playing in every event that I possibly can. For the most part, I would say there's a lot of players that didn't know what they were doing, but then there's about maybe 30 or 40 that are really strong in the game, but I didn't really run into any really strong players until towards the end when there was like 30 players left, and then I had a lot of chips, so it was more of a breeze for me. What do you think about the final table lineup? I know Mike Mizrachi's there. Yeah, and Miami John is there, and supposedly Miami John's a really good player in this, and I was talking to Griner, and he said this is his strong game, so I'm worried about those two a little bit. The chip leader, he likes to play possum. He thinks I'm overly aggressive, so we'll see how it works out.
Actually, the event started really shaky for me, because in the first 2 levels, I got a couple of really big hands beat, and I thought I was going to get eliminated. I was down to my last $150, and then one of these aggressive young guys tried to check raise, bluff me on the river when I had a pretty decent hand, and he doubled me up instead, and I really haven't looked back. Day 2 started me with 30,000, went right up to 80,000. I was chip leader most of the way. Then some disparity type things happened, and I was down in below par for like 3 hours. And then the very last segment of the night, I managed to bust 1.5 people. And,
1.5?
Yeah, well, got most of 1 chips, right. And then Cantu was the bubble boy for the final table, and I busted him with a nut flush. And that vaulted me, but I just hung on there with subpar chips for like 3 or 4 hours. So it just goes to show you, even at the high limits, if you do exercise a certain amount of patience, and this game will handcuff you to the table to be patient, if you don't have enough chips, that is, that it does pay off. So I waited my time, and finally I hit the right hand at the right time. So it worked out real well. So I'm very happy with yesterday's events, and hoping today is something similar.
Well, we spoke with John Reisner earlier, and he said that he was not fearful, but aware of you at the table because you are such an experienced player, and everybody's telling him that these are your games. Would you say that you have a big edge over the other players at the table because of your experience?
Yeah, I have a big edge because everybody thinks they're my games. So this way, if they're going to concede that to me, that does give me an edge, psychologically. But the cards have no masters, and I could start out with the ace, deuce, three of clubs and catch the 10 jack of hearts just like anybody else, So there's no different. I am a little more savvy on my reads than maybe some of them, and I do try to stick to quality hands. When it gets shorthanded, I'll open up too, because I'm going to have to deal with people like Michael Mizrachi, who's going to represent, bet, and he's such a good and aggressive player that I have plans for him too. But we'll see how that goes when we get there.
Be sure to stay tuned in to cardplayer.com for all your World Series of Poker updates. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Arnett for Card Player TV.